Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga Matchday 35, the weekend of El Clásico, an important Clásico because Barcelona can win the title with a draw is enough for the Blaugranas. Álvaro, I think we are going to see a big party at Camp Nou celebrating the title against the most fierce rival. Is always very positive for Barcelona, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, again, I'm gonna take a moderate approach. I think that perhaps, the last motivation that Real Madrid may have is not let Barcelona win the league against them. I also believe that Real Madrid has been able not to win or to beat Barcelona regularly under Flick, but at least to score goals against them. And I think that it's gonna be a feast of goals. And in a feast of goals, anything can happen. But yeah, Barcelona has the chance to win the title. They are not going to play for that draw because they don't know how to do that. They are going to try to win. And the game is going to be really interesting as well. There has been reports over the week of different fights and problems between players of Real Madrid in the camp. The last one we heard of, it was on the Athletic. And it was a problem between 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗲𝗏 and 𝗀𝗵cie. Two footballers that, in my records, they are quite civilized footballers, at least, good representatives of Real Madrid. But before that, it was Rudiger with Carreras, also has been reported, Mbappé with someone from the staff, Vinicius 6 months ago just refusing to leave the pitch when Real Madrid was under Xabi Alonso. It's been a very controversial season for Real Madrid, and if there is no unity in the team, then it's more difficult to beat the leader of La Liga, that's for sure.
It's a circus, Álvaro. It's a circus. Real Madrid at the moment is the Galacticos 2.0, and the person to be blamed is Florentino Pérez. Once again, I praise him a lot when Real Madrid had a lot of success, but now is completely the opposite. The club is in hands of some billionaires that don't know how to behave. Well, guys, let's analyze everything in La Liga because also the relegation battle is really interesting. Let me know in the comments which team are you backing, Barcelona or Real Madrid, for this Clásico. And now let's go on with the show. And we have a game on Friday, very important for the local team, Levante. Osasuna must win for Levante now, -4 with Sevilla. So I think if they don't win, they are relegated. They lost to Villarreal, but at home they won the last 3 games. Osasuna is only 1 win in the last 5 games. I don't think they are going to fight for European spots at the moment. So they are on holidays, Álvaro. So Levante should win here.
My logic is going to be that one. Who needs the win more? At the end of the day, we know that Osasuna wants to be in Europe, but how badly do they want it? I have seen Osasuna being very good this season, especially at home, but this is a game in which their opponent are fighting for their lives. Levante is 4 points away from safety, and I do believe that they are going to play with that mentality. Levante at home, I think that sometimes have been good this season. If you see their point tally is not very high, 20 points at home this season, but in the last games they've been delivering at home, that's for sure. They beat Sevilla, they beat Getafe, they beat Oviedo, and they drew with Girona, and they beat Alavés in their last 5 games at home. So that is something that we have to take into consideration too. They're doing the job at home. They got 13 points out of the last 15 in their home soil. Whereas Osasuna, as I said before, good season for them, but still maybe not enough to qualify for Europe. Still not far from it, but maybe not enough to qualify for Europe. So I'm going to go for something that pays decently, in my opinion, which is a draw no bet for Levante. 187.
All right, let's go to the next game. Also crucial for the relegation battle on Saturday is Elche Alavés. Alavés right now in relegation spots with 36 points. Elche only 2 more. and Alavés lost to Athletic 4-2 at home after beating Mallorca. It's only one win in the last 5 games for Alavés, and Elche lost to Celta, but they were coming in a great run. Oviedo, Atlético de Madrid, and Valencia wins before that defeat in Vigo. Oof, this is a very tough one, Alvaro, and a very important one.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna stay with the home side here, okay? During the show, I'm gonna follow that logic a lot. I think that we cannot forget that the home factor is crucial in these kind of games. Elche has been good this season at home. They've been really good, boy. I mean, they are the 6th best team at home in the league, which is quite something. And it also tells you how they have been away. There has been a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality in Elche. I mean, but at home they've been really good. They've been Dr. Jekyll, the good one. And also, they got 11 points out of the last 15 at home. So they've been delivering at the end of the season, or at least in the final third of this campaign. And when it comes to Alavés, let's see how they react to the fact that they haven't been in relegation that much this season. Only 3 weeks in total in relegation spots. And now they are there in the worst possible moment after their defeat against Athletic de Bilbao in a game, but that, by the way, they had more or less under control until the 65th minute, until Nico Williams and Ollán Sánchez, we'll speak about them later. They just showed the level they had a year ago. But yeah, Alavés calendar is not impossible, but this is probably the most difficult game they've got left, apart from playing Barcelona the next week. But Barcelona the next week can be already crowned champion, so they have to focus here. I'm going to go for a draw no bet for Elche here too. 166, and I could up it to an Asian handicap minus 0.25 for the home side, which pays around 190, but I prefer a draw no bet for Elche. I'm going to stay conservative here, just keeping in mind that Elche got this season a massive amount of points at home. We're talking that they got 31, which is incredible.
Well, another 6-pointer for the relegation, because there are so many teams in there, is Sevilla Espanyol. Sevilla won the first final at home against Real Sociedad on Monday in a very tense game, with Alexis Sanchez scoring the goal. I think Real Sociedad didn't put enough effort in that game, but we expected that. And now they have the second final against Espanyol, and Espanyol is a team that looks absolutely dead, Alvaro. Winless in 2026, a negative record. I think they were above like 20 points from the relegation at one moment in the season, and now they are only 3 points away from Alavés, so they are in real trouble from relegation. Is a team that they haven't sacked the manager. Usually in these times they sack the manager when you have this streak, but how do you see this one? Because it's impossible to trust Espanyol, but for sure it's going to be a very nervy game.
Look, and I tell you something. This season, at my office, we were going to write a big profile about Manolo, and we are holding the fire right now, because we were going to write it around December, and then Espanyol started losing, and we realized that we have to wait a little bit until he started winning, and he hasn't won again. I mean, Espanyol got 6 points out of the last 51. 6 out of 51. And, they are suffering. They are only 3 points away from Alavés. Alavés is 18th on the table. Also, the goal difference of Espanyol lately has been really bad. They have scored 15 goals, conceded 34, minus 19 goals conceded over the last 22 games, which is really very concerning, and I haven't seen a calm down like this for a very long time. Espanyol was in Champions League positions. So I'm gonna back Sevilla, and Sevilla this season at home, we know how they have been rather poor. 22 points at home is not great for a team like Sevilla, but on the other hand, they come at the back of a very important result. This has to be said as well. Sevilla beat Real Sociedad 1-0 with a goal from Alexis Sanchez, just very quickly on the Chilean footballer. Maybe Alexis Sanchez hasn't had a great season. He's a very experienced footballer, veteran, but his goals have translated into points. I mean, he has got between assists and goals a contribution of 11 points for the 37 points that Sevilla already has. So not a great season for Alexis Sanchez, but he's been turning up every now and then. And I'm going to back Sevilla here. I think they've got good players. I especially like 𝗀𝐭𝐴. That is a footballer that plays in a funny way, on the wing, funny, in entertaining way. And I do believe that Espanyol's dynamic is so bad that we have to back the home side here. Asian handicap minus 0.25 for the home side, 182. If they draw, you suffer, have a lose. If they win, you win.
Absolutely impossible to back Espanyol, although our smart bet, let me check it for this game, because it's going for Espanyol double chance. 𝐻𝐿 is 1.8. I'm completely surprised because indeed I wouldn't put €1 on Espanyol in this moment in time. Next game is Atlético de Madrid Celta. Alvaro, we didn't mention in our intro Atlético de Madrid losing the Champions League semifinals. Of course, is the big news this week in Spain. They were very close. They competed until the end. It was very narrow as we expected, but at the end, Atlético de Madrid is always missing this little bit to touch silverware. I don't know how you rate their season because, of course, the major flop was arriving to the Copa del Rey final and not winning it against Real Sociedad, because you can complain about the money gap between Arsenal and Atlético Madrid, but you have to consider also the one from Real Sociedad and Atlético de Madrid. And Celta are also fighting for Europe in this case with 47 points. They have to nail their Europa League spot. But yeah, Alvaro, tell me your thoughts about this season of Atlético de Madrid. Looks like Simeone is going to stay another season more.
It looks like, and I would like to. I generally agree very much with your assessment. I think that they should have won the Spanish Cup, even though Real Sociedad was on the rise with Pellegrino Matarazzo. But Atlético de Madrid has been a great agitator domestically. In fact, the reason why Barcelona hasn't won any silverware yet is because Atlético de Madrid beat them in the Spanish Cup, and because in the Champions League, Atlético de Madrid also beat Barcelona. So they've been capable of sometimes beating really good sides. But Atlético de Madrid has been rather average away from home, and they've got two clear faces. One is at Metropolitano. Over there, they are not unbeatable, but really strong, and that is that this is the biggest fortitude of Atlético de Madrid. Away from home is a different story. It's a team that has had positives this season. I would say that, for example, the appearance of the rise of Marc Pubil is a very good one for Atlético de Madrid. I think there is a good centre back in there. We also know that Atlético has a second choice goalkeeper who is nearly as good as Jan Oblak sometimes. And we also know that they still have a player with a good engine like 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝗀. I wasn't expecting 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝗀 to be this competitive this season. On the other hand, I think they are missing a little bit of something. Yes, Atlético de Madrid has good players, very good players in the lineup or the starting 11, but in the squad, I think they've got a lot of profiles. So, for example, they've got a nominal number 9 like Sorloth. They've got a footballer who is supposed to do the job that 𝐵𝗀𝗀 was doing. I'm talking about �thiago Almada. They've got a winger like Nico González who on a good day can be very good too. But those profiles are varied. They've got variety, but they are not top players. For example, remember the miss of Sorloth at Arsenal ground on Tuesday, around the 80th minute of the game. For example, this is the kind of miss that a player with that profile, but slightly better, I'm talking, for example, about maybe a Victor Gyökeres, especially an Erling Haaland, just to stay with the Scandinavian strikers, would have scored. So sometimes we say that Atlético de Madrid has a super squad, and I never quite agreed with that. I think that they've got a lot of profiles, a variety of footballers for every game, but some of them are not top players. So my assessment of the season is having reached to finals is a great thing, but what makes you competitive in the long run is La Liga. If in La Liga you are capable of recording or getting results weekend after weekend, then you are more likely to be competitive in the knockout tournaments. But if you are not competitive in La Liga, maybe you can be competitive in the knockout tournaments. And if you lose those finals, then the season feels a little bit like a flop, which is what has happened to Atlético de Madrid. But coming into this game, look, Edu, I think that it's difficult to call this one because Atlético, we don't know what the mentality is going to be against Celta. But I do know as well that at home they've been very good and they probably want to please the fans. So personally, my bet is going to be over 2.5 goals because there are goals in Celta and Atlético de Madrid and that pays 176 and I think that is good enough. But if I go for any full-time market, I'm not going to handicap anything. If I go for anything, it's going to be Atlético to win. It's very weird or very rare to see that Atlético to win at home pays over 2, and here it does, 208. And I know that Celta, probably they are setting their eyes in Europe too, but Atlético has to please the fans, and at home they've been very good. So over 2.5 goals, yes. Atlético to win will be my maybe bet, but I leave it to you to decide.
Well, we know Griezmann is leaving. 𝐿𝐭𝐴, we are not sure. It's also very likely.
Yeah.
Let's hope they keep Julián Álvarez. He has to be the center of this project. So let's see what Atlético de Madrid have in mind because they are always very active in the transfer window. For Saturday, we also have Real Sociedad Betis. Betis hoping to get the 5th spot, and then also if the 5th spot in La Liga goes to the Champions League, still unknown, depending on Rayo Vallecano and Freiburg. At the moment, they are +6 with Celta, so it's pretty sure they are gonna get this spot after beating Oviedo. Is 7 points in the last 9 games for Betis after the KO in the Europa League. And well, Real Sociedad, as I said, Alvaro, they are on holidays, 2 defeats and 2 draws in the last 4 games. And yeah, I saw many clips on Twitter complaining about Real Sociedad players against Sevilla because they didn't put enough effort in that game.
Yeah, but what do people want? At the end of the day, they already qualified for Europe, and Real Sociedad had a terrible start of the season under Sergio Francisco, and Pellegrino Matarazzo changed the same thing. Look, the most important thing for Real Sociedad, and I think that everyone will agree with me, is that losing or not playing well doesn't become a habit. So Real Sociedad has every right, I suppose, to let it go right now. But make sure that you know why you are losing and make sure that you know how to recover or to regain the winning mentality and the winning ways. Right now you can rest, but make sure that when the next season starts, you know how to readjust and to become the team you were in March. That's the most important thing. They're playing at home against Betis. Betis is very close to qualifying for the Champions League. I think that if Betis wins with 56 points and if Celta doesn't, Getafe, Athletic de Bilbao drop points, Betis will be almost 99% mathematically the 5th in La Liga. And Betis is extremely reliant on Rayo Vallecano, by the way, to grant the 5th spot on La Liga a Champions League place. So Betis has to make sure they finish 5th, and they will. Coming into this game, look, Betis is in a good run right now. We cannot say no to that. I mean, the other day, they beat Oviedo 3-0. We knew that was going to happen. Drew with Real Madrid with the goal from Bellerín. They beat Girona. That happened a couple of weeks ago. I got every reason to believe that Betis are gonna be competitive against Real Sociedad, a Real Sociedad side that got only 1 point out of 9 since they won the Spanish Cup. I'm gonna go for the goals market here. I think that there is enough quality on the pitch for goals to happen. Over 2.5 goals, 171.
All right, let's go to the games we have on Sunday. Mallorca Villarreal is the first one. This week was announced that Marcelino is not gonna continue in Villarreal. That happened after the team secured the Champions League spot for another year in a row. There are some discrepancies between the owners and Marcelino. It looks like Marcelino is a difficult person, let's say, in the personal level, and Íñigo Pérez, Rayo Vallecano manager, is going to be Villarreal's next manager. So Villarreal now, nothing to play for, really, Alvaro, but it's very important for Mallorca, only +2 with the relegation zone. The win in Girona is absolutely gold for this team.
It really is, and they needed that, they got that. Despite 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 not scoring, he's in the worst run this season so far. He hasn't scored in 3 games, so if he got any dream of fighting for the 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗀 trophy, I think he's not gonna get it. But who knows? Who knows? If Mbappe doesn't play anymore for Real Madrid this season, then there is an opportunity there. But this game is a bit of a pass for me. It's a bit weird. I mean, naturally I will go for Villarreal, okay, with the draw no bet. That was my initial thought. But then, Villarreal is already qualified for the Champions League. We know that. And now they can do basically what Atlético de Madrid or Real Sociedad are doing, which is, letting it go a little bit. Of course, there are players at Villarreal that they are still competitive and they want to please the fans, the club, and probably make their numbers better. One of them is 𝗷𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗀𝐿. I mean, the other day he scored again. I think he's in double figures right now. A good signing by Villarreal, by the way. Villarreal is a team that never loses the plot, that has to be said as well. 39 goals conceded is not bad at all. But Mallorca is fighting for their lives too. Mallorca right now have 2 more points than Alavés, and they are playing at home. So if I have to put my money somewhere, it will be on Mallorca with a draw no bet or a handicap of +0.25, just in case, not a minus, but a +0.25. But on the other hand, I'm going to be very honest here. I'm not going to bet on this game. I think that there are too many ifs, and the fact that Villarreal has qualified for the Champions League changes the whole story.
Okay, let's try another game. Athletic Valencia, interesting one here because Athletic now are in the race for Europe. Once again, only 3 points away from Celta after beating Alavés. And the good news is that Nico Williams is back. He did a really good game, and we are all hoping for him to be fit for the World Cup. Athletic playing in Barcelona against Espanyol away the next game. So again, with options to play European football next season. And Valencia, Alvaro, are once again in problems. Or at least I didn't expect them to lose against Atlético de Madrid B with all the youngsters. The stadium started to whistle and to boot all the players and the manager, especially Corberán. They are really fed up, and now they are +3 with Alavés, so not safe yet.
No, not safe. It was one of the worst games of Valencia this season in terms of how much they needed to win against how nonchalant Atlético de Madrid was about that game. A game in which not only 2 players from the academy made the difference for Atlético de Madrid, but also Nahuel Molina showed that his long-range shot can be so powerful. It was incredible, the shots that he was taking at Mestalla. But anyway, coming into this game, this is a game in which I back Athletic de Bilbao. First of all, let me tell you that it's great news for Spanish football that Nico Williams is back this time of the season, that Fabián Ruiz is back at this time of the season. He started against Bayern on Wednesday night, and he's so important for Spain. Luis de la Fuente, right now, as far as I remember, is waiting for Lamine Yamal to be back. I think that Lamine Yamal is going to be fine. And Mikel Merino. Mikel Merino may be the biggest thief. But if Mikel Merino is back, I think that Spain is going to have all their players available. I don't know if I am missing somebody. I don't think so. And that's going to be good for Spanish football. But it was great to see Nico Williams coming back. Look, he didn't play very well until the 60th or 70th minute. He was trying, because Nico Williams always tries. And that makes him look a little bit like helpless sometimes. The fact that even when he has a bad day, even when he feels the injury in the pubic bone, he's still trying to take on players. And, when he is half injured, he's not succeeding on that, but he tries. And the other day, finally, he managed to score a goal. It was a beautiful goal, in my opinion. But more importantly, I think that another player of Athletic de Bilbao, footballer that I really love, Ollán Sancet was also scoring a lovely goal. He was giving assists. It was good to see them because this season, let's face it, the best two players of Athletic de Bilbao have barely played together and both have been injured for most of the season. Athletic de Bilbao is setting their eyes on the Conference League to please the new manager as well, 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏, who is going to be unveiled at the end of the season. By the way, it's official that 𝗵𝗏𝗍𝗏 is going to be the coach of Athletic de Bilbao. And the Lions have been very good at home this season. So I'm going to go for Athletic de Bilbao to win 180 because they can qualify for the Conference League. There is a big possibility. And for Valencia, just very quickly, they have to avoid to draw on points with Elche. That's the most important thing because if they draw on points with Elche, they will go down if they finish 17th and 18th, both sides. But with the rest of the teams, I think that they've got a positive head-to-head. And with Mallorca, well, that's still to be seen. But they just have to avoid Elche. So I'm going to go for Athletic to win. And if you want to back one of the newcomers, Sancet or Nico Williams to score, that pays over 3 for both players, which is great.
All right, this is a classic from La Liga, and indeed, Terzic arriving to Bilbao is an interesting choice. This one. And the next game is Oviedo Getafe. Well, Oviedo hopeless. They are absolutely gone, and they can be mathematically relegated. Lost to Betis and Elche the last two games. Important this game. For Getafe, lost the last two games, Rayo and Barcelona, but still they are challenging for Europe. And another manager that is not going to continue next season, Alvaro, looks like Bordalás' era is over. I think he really deserves a team fighting for Europe or in Europe.
Yeah, and I heard a few names.
Man United. To be honest, Man United to Bordalás straight away.
No, it would be lovely to see Bordalás. I would personally, I would like him to stay in La Liga. I think that there is no chance that he will go to Valencia again. Sevilla could do with a manager like Bordalás, by the way, but if Luis Garcia saves the team, who knows? Sevilla will think about keeping him as well. But there are so many teams that Bordalás can go to. Even in Italy, I think he could do a very good job over there. But yeah, maybe Paunovic or Celestini can be the next manager of Getafe. I don't know. What I do know as well is that a player like Arambarri is likely to leave. River Plate will be his final destination, and it's a real shame because Arambarri has been a very good player for Getafe too. Coming into this game, this is a tricky one too because Oviedo needs to win. They're going down, that's for sure. The question is when. Do they have still the willingness to put an extra fight and just to delay a little bit more a relegation that we all know that is going to happen? Playing against Getafe can be a pain. And I think that Getafe, in this game, it is very likely to get something out of it. But I also believe that Getafe is very likely not to concede a lot of goals here. So I'm going to go for an under in this game. Under 2.5 goals, 175.
All right, and now El Clásico. Álvaro, Barcelona, Real Madrid. The counts are very simple. If Barcelona win or draw, the title is for the Blaugranas and they can celebrate it in the pitch. They are in great form. They are not flashy. They are not spectacular. It's the Barcelona of Xavi, let's say, defensively much better and taking their chances. But it was a great win in Pamplona. It was a great win in Getafe, two very difficult stadiums. And they can be happy, I think, to celebrate the second title in a row with Hansi Flick on the bench. But on the other side, if things are positive in Barcelona, usually are bad in Madrid. And you mentioned all the troubles. It looks like more like a boxing gym, Real Madrid at the moment, than a football club with all the issues. Plus, I think we can talk about a case Mbappé. Alvaro, Mbappé leaves PSG. PSG arrives 2 seasons in a row to the final of the Champions League. I think there is no coincidence on that. And now he's in Madrid. He should be the star. He went to Sardinia with his girlfriend when he is injured. He arrived only 10 minutes before the kickoff of the game with Espanyol. You mentioned the fight also with a member of the staff. If you are a leader, you shouldn't do this. And there are so many concerns, I think, about the leadership and how to glue Vinicius, Bellingham, and Mbappé, that is going to be very difficult for Mourinho or the next manager.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I tell you, look, I think that Real Madrid needs a few new players. That's for sure. I have said many times that they need midfielders who can play football at the base. A player like Rodri, a footballer like Pedri, a footballer like Fabián Ruiz. Those will be the kind of players, Vitinha, that Real Madrid will need. Then, Mbappé and Vinicius are not very compatible when it comes to playing elite football. I'm talking about playing against Paris, for example, playing against Arsenal, because none of them defend. And nowadays, if you don't defend with everyone on the pitch, then it's very difficult to win. And if you don't defend with two players, it becomes even more difficult. The new footballers signed, I will give them still another chance, but Carreras, Hausen, Mastantuono, to different degrees, obviously, but they've been okay or bad. And, this is something that is costing Real Madrid. The fact that many players in defense have been out with injuries as well. Militao, for me, is the best center back in the world when he's fit. Rudiger, 33 years old, maybe he cannot play every game. Ferland Mendy, defensively, is a terrific left back, but he's been barely available. So we can also point at the medical staff, really. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot say, but Real Madrid has got a lot of injuries over the last couple of years, muscular injuries, and, maybe some questions have to be raised towards that department as well. And it doesn't help that the mood in the camp is low. It all started, in my opinion, badly when Florentino Perez took sides for the players and not for the manager. Okay, when Real Madrid beat Barcelona in El Clásico back in October, back in November, and Arbeloa hasn't been able to change this dynamic. He started well, he beat Manchester City in the Champions League, but that was a little bit of an illusion, I think. Real Madrid did some good games away from home this season, I would say that, with Arbeloa, and at home too, but just for a month or two. After that, Barcelona has proven that it's a better team. Barcelona plays football better. Barcelona is slightly more vibrant, and it looks like Barcelona right now believes more in their manager, and the players are way more identified with the project. All that said, Barcelona is not perfect either. They've been very vibrant, that's for sure. Interesting to watch, always trying to score many goals. But this season, I think that Barcelona at times, despite their goal numbers, sometimes they are missing some player who can score more, because Rafinha has been out. Rafinha, I don't think that he will start this game. Lamine Yamal, who is their best player, is going to be out for this game too, and maybe that gives a little bit of an opportunity for Real Madrid. Look, Barcelona has been way better than Real Madrid over the last 2 years, and yet Real Madrid has been able to score a lot of goals against them. Just let me give you some numbers, okay? Real Madrid scored 2 against them in the Super Cup final, but Barcelona won 5-2. Then they scored 2 against Barcelona in El Clásico last season, but Barcelona scored 3. 4-3 last season too, 2-1 this season, 3-2 this season. So both things to score has happened, and over 3 goals has happened very easily. The last time that a Real Madrid-Barcelona game was not an over 3 goals was 10 games ago in the semi-finals of the Spanish Cup, when Benzema has a sensational game. So, this is a reality too. Goals are happening in this game because Barcelona is conceding. So I'm going to go for over 3 goals. This is my safe bet, 142. Otherwise, I'm going to take a massive gamble here, and I'm going to tell you both teams to score in the second half, 2:15. I really think that this can happen because a lot of goals are happening between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And if I have to go to the individual market, since Rafinha and Lamine Yamal are not playing, maybe Vinicius to score, 295.
Well, I would handicap actually Barcelona. I think with all the issues that Real Madrid have with the title in their hands, it should be a party, a feast in. Barcelona. Let's check out smart bet, for this game, and it's going also for Barcelona. Is the top tip from our AI. Barcelona to win is 1.85. How things have changed when Real Madrid won in the reverse fixture, still with Xavi Alonso. Then he changed Vinicius, and all the problems started when we saw, for instance, Dembélé getting souped by Luis Enrique, in the 60th minute without any issue in a Champions League final. This is
the Ballon d'Or, Edu.
The Ballon d'Or. Exactly, scored the goal leading to the final in Budapest. This is what a team is, basically. Well, Alvaro, and for Monday we have Rayo Vallecano, Girona. Rayo Vallecano only thinking in the conference semi-finals in Strasbourg, since they are safe. 42 points. They were able to beat Getafe away, even without Isi Palazón, after being absolutely robbed in the game against Real Sociedad. So kudos to 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, to Rayo Vallecano. Is amazing the season they are doing, and now the problems are for Girona. This is a must-win, 3 consecutive defeats, in big trouble with 38 points. And well, Mitchell, ex-Rayista, Alvaro, trying to get the salvation in his stadium.
Yeah, look, I know that Girona needs it better, but in this show, probably you have seen that I'm leaning a lot towards the home side, so Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Rayo Vallecano will be my take here. If they draw, you suffer half a lose. If they win, you win. That pays 209, which is a lot of money. Of course, everything depends a little bit on what they do in the Conference League semi-finals. I think that they are going to make it. I think that they are going to make it against Strasbourg. I have that feeling. But yeah, that would be my bet. Girona is in a bad run, and Rayo Vallecano, especially if they qualify for this final, I think that they are going to be lifted, and they've got enough time to rest, by the way, because the game is on Monday. So I'm going to back them with a minus 0.25.
Okay, well, guys, remember we have our tipster competitions going on. Monthly one in May, a chance for you to win money completely free to participate, and also check out Rivals and create your own tipster league. Alvaro, your safe bet?
Barcelona Real Madrid, over 3 goals.
1.42 in this case. And the ACCA?
Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Athletic Club. Barcelona Real Madrid over 3 goals, and a draw no bet for Sevilla. Altogether pays in the region and 3.8.
All right. Well, Alvaro, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, bye.